Welcome back everyone, I'm the Book Guy and we are once again discussing Malazan. There are 25 books in this world, split into several sub-series, and over time we have looked at each of these mini-series, comparing the strengths, weaknesses, and challenges of reading each one, all to help you decide which ones you want to try. Today we're completing our Malazan journey and discussing the final sub-series we haven't talked about yet, and that is Path to Ascendancy. This series is by Ian Esslemont, the second author working in this world, and these are his prequel novels about the young Emperor Kellanved and the assassin Dancer as they fight to build the mighty Malazan Empire. These prequels are sadly often overlooked by Malazan fans, and yet I think they just might be the best place to start Malazan. They're very easy reading, they're fast-paced, and they focused on a very small cast of characters, and they provide essential backstory to the Malazan world. Yet you may be wondering, if this is the best place to start, then why am I talking about this series last? Was my YouTube schedule planned by Yoda? Well, for one, this series is unfinished. There's 4 books so far, and there will be 6. So it may be too soon to tell if this is the perfect starting place. This will depend on how books 5 and 6 turn out, and how well they link to the start of the main series. Then we'll be able to decide once and for all if this is the best place to start. But second, this series is very, very different. It is really good fantasy objectively on its own, but it's so different when compared to the rest of the Malazan universe. For one, it's so much smaller. Instead of the 1,200 page behemoths that make up Book of the Fallen, these are about 400 pages long. They're nowhere near as thick and epic. And yet still, this may be a really good starting place for people who have never tried Malazan before because they are intimidated by its enormous size and staggering complexity. Think of this like Malazan on easy mode. You can try it and see if you like the type of story you've got here, and then decide if you want to take the plunge into the wider Malazan world. And if you're an old Malazan fan, what are you waiting for? Get started. Let's see if Path to Ascendancy is right for you. Young Doran has a lot to prove. He's just graduated from his assassin apprenticeship, and now he wants to make a name for himself as a world-class killer. The only problem is, his very first target is proving really bloody difficult to kill. His target is a mage who calls himself Wu, and Wu has found an old warren of ancient magic, making him quite a threat. Wu doesn't seem bothered that someone is trying to kill him. Instead, he sees this all as an opportunity for advancement. Wu has ambition with a capital A, and he won't stop until he learns all the secrets of ultimate power. Doran and Wu battle each other in Quan-Tali, so this continent has seen decades of war between the two states of Quan and Tali. These two states have only just recently united, and their peace is tenuous at best. Both sides are too fragile to start another fight, so the situation is ripe for someone with an iron will to swoop in and seize control. But the path to Ascendancy is a long, dangerous road, with more than merely mortal threats in its way. There are powerful entities in the Malazan world, intently watching this fateful meeting between the assassin and the mage. Some of the old ones see this as an opportunity of their own, but to what end? Will the mighty Emperor become nothing more than a pawn of destiny? We shall see. Now, before we go any further, let's discuss the elephant in the room. When you consider these books, you'll notice immediately that they are about a quarter the size of the larger books in this world. When you read them, you see that the writing style is different, the story is different, you get the idea. So you may wonder, how is this considered Malazan? Well, it's simple. Think of this like the Cosmere. You will have your meaty Stormlight epics, and then your middle-range Mistborn mysteries, and your lighter Tress and Yumi novels. Or think like the MCU, which will have separate stories focusing on action, sci-fi, heist, or even horror films. So think of Malazan as a shared universe with all kinds of different stories. So what makes Ascendancy so different? Well, don't be mad at me, but I almost want to call these young adult novels.
How dare you!
Look, I mean, they're not young adult at all, but they do have some similarities. All the characters are younger. They're testing their power for the first time. They're challenging authority. They're discovering who they are. The books are shorter and easier to read. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of YA in here. Another difference is that these books are designed to be a very easy entry point into Malazan. We all know that Gardens of the Moon is the true starting point of Malazan, and yet this book can be punishing to new readers. It demands a lot of faith and patience from their readers as they flounder around in this new vast world. The author Mark Lawrence, who wrote the Red Sister trilogy and several other noteworthy books, he wrote a review on Gardens of the Moon, where he said, "I didn't find keeping track of it too burdensome. My main issues were why I should want to. It's an issue of motivation." This is actually a really great summary of the first book, because the early books require so much from the readers, and not everyone wants to do that. Some readers are not motivated to read through so much complexity for the promise of a later reward. This is where Ascendancy really shines. You don't have to push yourself to read it. You don't have to search for the treasure. Ascendancy starts with Doran and Wu in competition and makes us interested in them right away as one tries to kill the other, and it only continues from there. Now yes, you can read this series with zero prior Malazan experience, but it still offers plenty of fan service and expands the mythos for established fans. So don't freak out thinking that this is somehow watering down Malazan for the next generation or anything. This is the Goldilocks of balance between helping new readers come on board and rewarding the old ones too. Ascendancy has a lot of plot lines for a 400-page book, but it still has nowhere near as many plot lines as we usually get in Malazan. Again, it makes it much easier to keep track of everything. Now, I went into this series expecting it to be predictable, like most prequels. I mean, come on, this is a prequel series about the rise of the Malazan Empire. We know how it ends, the Empire is formed, right? Well, not exactly. This series had so many unexpected twists and turns, and setbacks and disappointments. It's not a predictable story by any means. Our characters encounter so many problems. Esslemont is really quite brilliant in how he writes this. It's not just a D&D party of level 20s just swooping in and slaying the competition. It's a brutal slog. This is very on brand for Malazan on a whole. I mean, a major theme of this world is that reality and history is so much messier than we hear in stories. In the later books, when people talk about the great Emperor Kellanved, they say he was a brilliant tactician and a flawless general. And then we read the reality of that and think, okay, so things are a bit different here. This series is all about the mess of reality, and I love it. Path to Ascendancy is also unique in structure. So most of the wider Malazan series is episodic, with each book being a self-contained story. Yet this series is one continuous story. All 4 books are directly linked to each other, so that means characters and plot lines carry over from one book into the next, and it means we have yet to see the grand conclusion. Still, what types of plot lines do we have here? So to give you an idea, I'm going to divide these plots into 3 categories: origin stories, epic quests, and schemes. The origin stories are all about the great and mighty names of legend that we know from the main series, and it shows their humble beginnings. Now yes, we have Kellanved and Dancer in book 1, but each book includes a few more of these big names. It's immensely satisfying to see them all come together like an Avengers movie. And yet most of these characters have rather bizarre origins, even comedic origins. Sometimes it's like they arrived here by happenstance, but then the historians later write about their brilliant planning and foresight. This is all part of the theme that sometimes history is being skewed in how it's recorded. Now, the epic quests are all about Kellanved's wild ambition. This guy just wants to learn the secrets of magic and power, and he will do anything to get them. This means digging up ancient secrets, exploring lost realms, and maybe even trying to overthrow governments if they're just simply hoarding books of knowledge that he needs. Whatever it takes. And I gotta say, I love these quest plot lines, especially in Kellanved's Reach. I think that was a particularly great one. Finally, the schemes. So this includes a bunch of things like politics, alliances, military strategies, and battle plans. There's a lot of clever thought that goes into all kinds of crazy plans here.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, all the crazy plans. I'm actually gonna leave this part vague because it's quite fun. Now, Doran/Dancer is main character number 1, and right there we have something very unique to Malazan. We usually have about 10 protagonists, but this series is very much Dancer's series. That's why book 1 is called Dancer's Lament. So even when more protagonists are added in each book, he remains the main guy. Dancer is not a cold-blooded killer. Despite being an assassin, he actually considers himself an artist. Killing is his craft, and that's what these petty street thugs will never understand. Yet Dancer is quite compassionate, and remembers those who have helped him, at least at the start. Will he become more corrupt as the story goes on? Yet despite Dancer being the main point of view character, in many ways he's just the observer. This story is really about Wu/Kellanved. This guy is pretty awesome, because he magically alters his appearance to appear about 70 years old. He walks hunched over and stooped with a cane. Yet sometimes when his magic slips up, we see he is actually much closer to 20 years old. Also, Kellanved may actually be insane. His grasp of reality is tenuous at best. People rally behind him even if they doubt he's actually capable of all that he claims. And yet, as the series progresses, we see more and more of these classic characters come in as supporting protagonists. Big names like Tei'Shiren, Tatasale, and Dasem. Each of their character journeys are unique, but the common theme is that they are young and untested. This is so rewarding for old Malazan readers to find old friends, but in a very different form. And of course, the character arcs work just fine for the new readers too. Yet there's something extra special going on here. This series avoids a lot of common problems we see in prequels, where they don't leave these characters room to grow. Take Legolas in The Hobbit. He's the exact same character that we later meet at the start of the Fellowship, so he has no possible growth. He's a stagnant character for 2 whole movies. Esslemont avoids this trap by making these characters slightly different to how they are at the start of later books. They will grow up and mature as they go, creating some tension and unpredictability for readers. On that note, in last week's video, I mentioned that Esslemont's character writing in the Malazan Empire novels is not terrible, but it is weaker than Erikson's. Yet in this series, Path to Ascendancy, I would say that his character work steps up to another level. I cared deeply about all of these guys, which is a sign of excellent writing. So where does Ascendancy fit regarding everything else? Well, first, take a look at this almighty map that we've been using in all of our Malazan chats. So we have Stephen Erikson's books in the outer regions of the world, and Ian's main series towards the middle. Well, all the Ascendancy books take place in Quantali, what we later know to be the center of the Malazan Empire. But remember, this is a prequel series, so all these other books haven't happened yet. Ascendancy also connects to the wider world through the use of cameos and references, written just for the fans. These are so much fun for returning readers. In fact, let me spoil just one very clever reference just to give you an idea. Some soldiers are drinking at a bar, and one young kid is getting praised for his bravery in the last battle. The captain says, "What's your name, kid?" And he says, "Jack. You deserve a drink. What are you drinking?" And the kid's like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll have a whiskey." And the captain's like, "You, over here, a whiskey, Jack." And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Whiskey Jack.
I understood that reference.
And all the fans are screaming in joy. So it's just these fun little references woven through the story all the time. An important note, this prequel series is not a pure retelling of events. So we know a couple of key things about this time period thanks to the future books, but Ascendancy will skip some of those. For example, book 4 has a slight time jump that actually skipped a few things that the main series had referenced. This series is not just running through a checklist and showing us every historical event in order. I mean, that's what the Han Solo movie did, and it was boring. Esslemont gives a reason for this. He has a rule when writing these prequels to not depict things we've already seen before. So remember, this is an original story about the characters. It's not just a retelling of history and filling in the blanks. Finally, Ascendancy links to the greater context regarding gods and their schemes. I can't speak too much about this one, but there are higher powers at work here, manipulating and steering events. There's even been a few references to the ending that we see in Assail, adding greater meaning and significance to that, and it's really brilliant, but I cannot say more about it. This series may be shorter and simpler than normal Malazan, but it's often just as deep and rich with meaning. Our first major theme is that history is always written by the victors. This story shows how things of great magnitude in history can often be exaggerated, that rulers and historians can define what is considered history. There's even one hilarious scene of rather dark comedy. A momentous event occurs, and a character hires someone to be a historian to record it. Then they immediately throw that historian in jail because they didn't like how they recorded it. And this all happens in the space of a minute.
Hold on, this whole operation was your idea.
I recently saw a post online that summed this up. Isn't it amazing that all through history, the good guys won every war? Now, obviously that's not true, but that is how historians will tell the story. And by contrast, I've always loved this line from Firefly. It may have been the losing side, I'm still not convinced it was the wrong one. This is something that Ascendancy challenges, that maybe the winners are not the smartest or most moral, but in fact the most ruthless or just the luckiest. After all, the whole Malazan universe focuses heavily on the Malazan Empire, but the Malazans can often be the bad guys of different stories depending on how you look at it. There were times I was reading Ascendancy where I was wondering, did our heroes just cross a line? Or is this just standard practice for how tyrants come to power? Still, there's a lot of themes in this book and I could probably talk about it for hours. Okay, as I've said, I really think you can start your Malazan journey with these books, but if you're a Malazan fan and you disagree, by all means, let me know what you think in the comments below.
That's bait.
Remember, this is the official reading order of the main two series, if you want to read them together. So that is Book of the Fallen and the Malazan Empire novels. But as for the prequels, generally speaking, you are meant to read the prequels after these 16 books. But that's a lot of reading. Obviously, you don't actually have to read all 16 books before you read the prequels. I strongly encourage you to read at your own rate. You can pick up these books whenever you're in the mood for some epic Malazan, but want something simpler and shorter. But let's wrap up this video with a few closing points. The content warning for Ascendancy is not as extreme as other series. Another reason why it might be for younger readers. So there's just general violence. If the rest of the Malazan world is a bit like Game of Thrones level of content, this one is more like Lord of the Rings. Remember that there are 2 more books still to come in this series. Also, it's worth noting that both the authors Stephen and Ian are slowing down their writing a little bit. They each wrote their main series at about 1 book per year. They really pumped them out. Yet these days, the books often take 2 or even 3 years. But that's fair. They're both in their 60s now. A lot of authors slowed down at this point in life. Looking at you, George. Personally, I cannot wait for the final 2 books to come out. I have so many questions about this series and things I really cannot wait to see. So fingers crossed, we are not waiting too long. And how much should you try? Well, if you want to know if you'll like this series, you really can just try book 1. It's good from the beginning and it's a fair sampling of what the rest of the series will become. You'll know right away if Path to Ascendancy is right for you. So good luck! And happy reading. Now before you leave, I've got a couple of channel updates for you. First, we are not quite done with Malazan. I'll be having a chat next month with several special guests about the themes of Malazan. It's such a huge topic and I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface of it. So I've put together a brains trust of BookTube's best minds to try to unpack this heavy topic. So we have Philip Chase, Joanna Reeds, Alan from the Library of Alexandria, and Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, all coming together in a couple of weeks' times to chat about this topic. I hope you'll join me for what will definitely be a fantastic discussion. I know, look at me interacting with other people. It's been known to happen. Anyway, also next month we are finally doing Middle Grade March, looking at a bunch of kids' books, as voted on by my Patreons. You know, this will be a perfect palate cleanser if you're a bit overwhelmed after so much Malazan. I know it will be for me. I haven't scheduled the order officially yet, but we'll be looking at Skullduggery Pleasant, Nevermore, Artemis Fowl, and The Ultimate Guide to Percy Jackson. And maybe a bonus video if I find time. Actually, you know what? That's a pretty good order. Might just do that. There it is. That's the order. Anyway, if you want to support what I do, I have an online shop and a Patreon, and I have my own books, The Immortal Investigations. And fun fact, the audiobooks went into production just this week, and just today, I actually heard my narrator do a proofread of chapter 1, you know, to check that we got all the voices right, and it was literally one of the best experiences of my life. The guy's just perfect. I definitely happy cried. I'm not going to happy cry now. It's fine. But look, the point is the audiobooks are coming. We're hoping to get them out in June this year. That's the goal. But I'll keep you updated on that one as we go. For now, you can grab a copy of the ebook and the physical book, and please remember to leave a review. I mean, if you liked it, that is. If you didn't like it, you can help the channel by not leaving a review. I'm joking. Anyway, make sure you subscribe to The Book Guy if you haven't already, and I will see you next week for another book discussion. Until then, I hope you enjoy a good book today. Bye!